Что такое советская власть? В чем заключается сущность этой новой власти,
We're back.
которой не хотят...
Hey, it's like 30 seconds after the last video, but I'm going to keep going because I'm on a roll and I'm ready to do Cold War. We're probably going to do 2, maybe 3 10-minute lectures on the Cold War. Muy importante in the U.S. History and Regents exam. And we're really going to hit the Regents questions and the vocabulary and give you some ways of remembering the concepts. Look, I know you're not all going to be historians. I've kind of settled my soul with that. I'm hoping a few of you will, social studies teachers and historians. But really, I want you to understand the big ideas, so we don't make them again, and we understand when people are talking about history where we've been. History is a river that we all drink from, my friends, and I think that you want to know where that water was. Oh, I hate analogies. Let's move on, and here we go. Remember, last lecture we ended at the big Y, Yalta, the deal with the devil, I've called it in class. And you've seen that historical photograph I've showed you with Churchill and FDR on his deathbed and the devil himself, Stalin, mass murderer, Soviet Union communist dictator leader, making this deal. Now, there's background information about the deal. I mean, why would we make a deal with the Soviets? Look, Japan wasn't conquered yet. There was other problems. We needed the Soviets still. But at the end of the day, FDR started the Cold War by giving Stalin Eastern Europe. Basically, like Poland and Czechoslovakia and East Germany and basically half of the continent of Europe. And the rest of the world as well becomes spheres of influence. Korea, North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, North Vietnam, South Vietnam. The Middle East becomes a hot ground. South America becomes a hot ground. I want you to think of the Cold War as a hot game of chess, because that's a great analogy. Look, in chess, are you allowed to go after the king right away? Are we allowed to attack the Soviet Union? You can't do that. Well, again, the analogy works perfectly, but we're going to find out that you can't attack the Soviet Union, nor can they attack us. And we'll go into that concept in a minute as my brain is racing a million mile an hour to get this vocabulary to you. Let's start slow, all right? Our policy is containment. And when I'm doing that, we've had other foreign policies with hand gestures. Isolationism. I'm hungry for raw materials and new markets. Imperialism. And now we're moving on to containment. And what I'm doing is, I'm not destroying the color red. I have no red eraser. I have no way of getting rid of all of the communists. But the idea, which will later be encapsulated in the domino theory, is that you have to stop the red before it gets out of the ketchup bottle. Because once it gets out of the ketchup bottle, it's going to spread everywhere. So it's kind of like, think of it as communism in a glass of water. You can't make the water go away. It is there. And it's going to take 50, 60 years, 70 years or whatever to get rid of the water. But what we can do is if we see that glass tipping over, we need to contain that spill before it spills into our carpet next door, before it goes across the living room. Containment is the big idea. So here we go with early containment episodes. A lot of our containment episodes will be action-orientated. We're going to do things. We're going to blockade and fight wars and, launch aircraft, satellites and things. But the beginning is a planning stage. So we're going to take a couple minutes to explain this because I want you to write about this on the Regents. If you get a containment foreign policy-based essay, I think that this has great analytical value for you. Rather than just doing Cuban Missile Crisis, which is great, we're going to do that. I love these ideas of long-range thinking. And that comes in the Marshall Plan and the Truman Doctrine. Now, for my multiple choicers out there, Momo Marshall. And we all know Momo. Momo is more money. So let's explain this concept. Look, we gave $40 billion in 1946. Someone's going to text me or send a message, it was X amount. We sent a lot of Momo to Western Europe, our side. And this is containment, so you need to understand why. First of all, you need to know, remember from class, we talked about, if you were a tree, the tree of communism, where would you grow best? And of course, people automatically think trees grow best in rich soil. And of course, in class, we said, no. Actually, communism grows in dirt soil, in poor soil. Poverty breeds the want of equality. When people are poor, look, the analogy in class I said was, look, if you're driving in a rusted out, Pinto from 1975 with a flat tire and smoke coming out of the engine, and some salesman on the street is talking about free cars and share the wealth, you're there. You're ready to listen. You're saying, look, what do I got to lose? But if you're driving in a Beamer, whatever people drive. I suck at talking about cars. But, a nice car, and the guy's like, share your car. You're like, beep, beep, bye-bye. And that's the idea. That, look, what does Western Europe look like after World War II? It looks like, it ain't pretty, folks. It's bomb shelters and death and disease and raging dogs and, it's the wasteland. So we don't want the red to go there. And if people are poor and societies are, not furnished, there's no hospitals and roads, communism might come. So Marshall Plan is long term. Look, take this money. It is yours. Build schools and roads and hospitals and bridges and whatever. And that's going to stabilize your society, and that in the long run is in America's self-interest. And it's going to contain the communists. The Truman Doctrine is the same concept with guns and weapons. Greece and Turkey, if you look at a map, I don't have a map. Social studies teacher with no map. If you look onto the map of the Soviet Union, if the Soviet Union passed gas, it would be all over Turkey and Greece. So that's an immediate threat. So by sending weapons and troops and, armor, not troops, but, aid to those countries, we can prevent the spread of what color? Red. Very good. All right, let's go through a couple of events as I look at the 6-minute mark. Really, Berlin becomes a microcosm of the Cold War. And, again, man, I don't have a map, but if you look at a map of Germany, it's kind of split, not right down the middle, but, whatever. And you have West Germany, which is part of NATO, our gang, and the red, which is East Germany, part of Warsaw Pact, their gang. We'll go into the gang concept after this. Berlin, the capital, is like over there. It's in the red. And Berlin was split as well. This is really kind of a retarded concept. But if you think about it, it's kind of like this. Let's just use gang, red and blue, right? Or Bloods and Crips or whatever. But if you're in a gang, could you imagine if your headquarters was like on the other side of town in the middle of their hood? And that's what it was like for the Allied powers, the NATO forces in Berlin. West Berlin was free. It's Mickey D's and Barbie dolls. But East Berlin, in the middle of East Germany, is red. So Stalin makes a chess move. Sound familiar, right? Chess game, Cold War, good for us. And that chess move is, he wants the Yankees out of West Berlin. He wants Berlin for himself. So he blockades all of Berlin. He cuts off roads and trains and bridges and everything, thinking he can starve us out. Now, are we going to let that happen? No, because what's our policy? Oh, you said it. Containment. This is the Berlin Airlift. Millions, hundreds of thousands of tons of materials. We fly overhead, daring Stalin. You want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? Knowing he's not going to do it. And we basically push him, into a corner where he's going to have to allow that. That's a successful episode of containment. Eventually they'll build the Berlin Wall in 10, 15 years, and that'll be their answer to West Berlin. Just wall it off and let them live in that side and forget about them. But it's a great concept that leads us into the 8-minute mark. Oh my goodness. And collective security. This is the gang concept. Look, we're not alone in this Cold War. We have allies. Half the world is on our side. We have, whether it's Greece or you're talking about, West Germany or France or Italy or England or one of many third world nations. I'm not going to say they're all free and democratic, but we have people on our side. And our closest allies are in Western Europe. So our gang, let's be the Crips, because they're not red. And that's NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And I'm going to get to collective security in a sense, but their gang, which I guess, guys, the commies have to be the Bloods because they're Reds. That's the Warsaw Pact. That's basically Eastern European countries. The Soviet Union being the largest one, of course, the mother country. And the other countries like little satellite countries that, revolve around the Soviet Union. They're not there by choice, by the way. Remember, this is, the deal at Yalta, where the Soviet army stayed in those countries and got to kind of puppet control them. That's the Warsaw Pact. So here's collective security, brinkmanship, and MAD. Think about it. In the Cold War, there's 20, 30,000 nuclear weapons. And how many were launched either way? What's that? 0? Why? That's a Regents concept. Collective security means this. It means that if we're all together, it's the Three Musketeers, it's all for one and one for all. Are you going to punch me in the face? No, because if you punch me in the face, you punch all my friends in the face. It's why the kid in a gang is a little bit safer walking down the street. He's not going to get jumped unless they know they want to start a gang fight. MAD, mutual assured destruction and brinkmanship. The idea that, look, if you do punch him in the face, not only will I punch you in the face, I will press the red button. And if I press the red button, what are you going to do? Oh, press the red button, we're all dead. That's what keeps us safe. Violence equals peace. I'm confused. We'll see you in a minute.